Something that I talk about a lot with very successful people who have children is how do you prevent your kids from being entitled? Because usually what got you, the hyper successful person, to that position was having a very humble background, not having any money, working your ass off, being incredibly disciplined and motivated and driven to get everything done. But the most of those same people, and I've seen this over and over and over again, I've met hundreds of people who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and almost all of them have an issue with raising kids because as a child, I can put myself in that position. If my parents were super rich, let's say worth $100 million, and I knew that no matter how hard I worked in my entire life, I would have everything I ever dreamed of. I could have unlimited money, unlimited resources, unlimited connections. So it doesn't matter how hard I work. Why do I want to work hard? You don't. And you don't have that fire underneath your ass like, fuck, I want to retire my parents, or I have these huge goals that go beyond myself, because you're already guaranteed it. And that is so challenging because those same people, I was talking about this with some people last night who are wildly rich, but I'm not going to say their names because I know their kids. And they were having problems with my kids. They're not driven, they're not motivated, but they also understand that you can't want more for someone than you want for yourself. That's one of the best lines that my buddy Justin's ever told me. He said, Josh, sometimes you want, and you know people can do such big things, but you just can't want more for somebody than they want for themselves. And being a very rich kid, or when your parents are super rich and you're a kid, I think that's one of the worst positions that you can be in because you don't have that fire underneath your ass. So I actually think about this a lot because I know that when I have kids, I will be incredibly successful, at least from a point of view of monetary success. And I've seen so many people who made a shit ton of money and I think are the most successful people on the planet Earth. Their kids are very lazy, unmotivated, not driven towards anything. And this, I've seen this over and over and over again with very few exceptions. And I don't want that. I'm very scared of that. It's the lack of opportunity what made me want to work so hard, along with a bunch of other things. So, how do you instill those values into your children with giving them everything that you didn't have? Because that's the number one thing that you hear. I'm not going to use their names, but one of the guys was incredibly poor growing up, incredibly poor. He single family, a single mother household. He was he said one Christmas that he remembers just like it was yesterday. He has an older sibling and a younger sibling. He's the middle child. And he said they went to he said on one Christmas, he went downstairs and there was one present underneath the tree. And he said, fuck, I knew that present wasn't for me. And we were just cracking up. But that's what you remember. And then he said there was always this one shoe that he wanted. He was a football player in the NFL. There was this one shoe that he always wanted, but his mom didn't have enough money for it. But there was a knockoff brand. It would be like in like knockoff Michael Jordans or Air Jordans or something like that. And he said every single day he would wear them because it was the only pair of shoes he could have. But everyone knew they were fake, and everyone would make fun of him for it. And that's what he remembered. And he just wanted to get the real pair of shoes. And guess what? Now he has like a collection of them. But it's what you don't have that makes you want this. And then he said his son, he said one of his like younger, he was like 9, it's like his 9th birthday party. And he literally had 100 presents from him. They had a party, they had all their friends come, and they was literally 100 plus presents, just all for him for his birthday. When you have that much abundance, what the hell do you want to work hard towards? It's very challenging. So what I was talking about with these guys, they said, Joshua, why are you so driven? Why do you want to work so hard? And we basically all agreed that it is a disadvantage to be born into a rich parenthood. But you also want to give your kids everything that you didn't have. So these same people, they were like, well, shit, I didn't have anything growing up. I want my kids to make sure they never experience that because it sucked. But that's what made you into who you were. So it's a really weird paradox that happens over and over again. I mean, I think it's a real disadvantage to be born into a a very rich environment. Unfortunately, I mean, it's great to think about if you are driven, but that drive needs to come from some sort of other source than wanting money or wanting something. It needs to be like a feeling of inadequate, and then that's a different paradox. But anyway, I think I don't have a good solution for it. I mean, I'm still focused on building my wealth, but that is something I'm extraordinarily scared of. I would not want entitled, spoiled brat kids. I don't want to give them anything. And I would be explicitly clear that everything that I have is mine and I work for it. None of it is yours. If you want any of this, you will work for yourself. And I also don't think for a lot of the early years I would want to live in a mega mansion. Even if I had the money, from a personal standpoint, I don't really care where I live. This may change, of course, but I am fine with very little. So I would like that to be instilled in my children. I think from a very young age that it's very clear. I would love to raise them in a multitude of countries so they can learn a few different language, maybe spend a few years in Asia so they can learn some sort of Mandarin or Chinese and maybe learn some useful skills like maybe some different fighting techniques. Go to South America, teach them Spanish because young kids just absorb information around them so much so they can be a hopefully multilingual, as well as picking up skills and different traits and cultures around from a lot poorer countries as well. But I don't know. I don't have kids, but I definitely want kids. I just don't want to raise them in an environment where they have everything that they could ever want. Therefore, they don't want anything, so they have no reason to have any sort of drive. Because I would that to me would be a failure on my part. And I know that giving them everything that they want is the wrong solution because there's hundreds of case studies of people that I've seen that have done that, and it utterly fails every single time. Not every single time, but I would like to know what the exception is. And I was trying to think about it for myself. I never felt like I didn't have a lot as a kid. I never really thought that. I actually thought that I had more than nothing. My parents always gave me everything I really wanted. They definitely did. I think I more so felt that I could do pretty much anything with my life, but I was doing nothing. And I've always felt a great amount of pressure on myself. But no one has instilled that sort of pressure onto me. I kind of just always feel a very deep level of inadequateness or inadequacy. No matter what even if I perform something incredibly great. So it just makes me want to exceed my wildest expectations. And I obviously want stuff as well. I want to be 100% free from just about everything. I would love to know someone else's thoughts. How do you raise kids if you are incredibly wealthy without having them be entitled and having them want to work to do the same things that you did that bring fulfillment? Because I wouldn't care if I didn't know that hard work in itself is what the fulfillment is. It's not the stuff at the end, but the kids get the end without the fulfillment of actually doing. And some people would say, well, that's such an easy problem to have. But I mean, there's a reason why the suicide rates of wealthy children are incredibly high. They're very, very high because their lives are miserable in a lot of situations because I think they're lacking the characteristic of hard work is the goal, or having a goal is really what brings fulfillment. And what is the goal when you have every single thing you could possibly dream of, and no matter how hard you work, you would get that handed to you for free? That's tough. It's really tough. That's I would not want to be born into a very wealthy family. That because I know myself, and I know that if I would have been handed every single thing I could have ever dreamed of, I would not want to work hard. I would have no reason to. I know myself well enough to know that I would probably just be getting drunk every single weekend with my buddies, doing super expensive shit with other rich kids. But there's no fulfillment in that. Anyway, I'd love to know if other people have thought about this. And I only really think about it is because I see it so often. I mean, this is a real tough paradox that I've seen over and over and over again from successful people having disappointing children. It is not all the time. Sometimes they are great, and because they have the connections, they are extraordinarily smart, and they can literally do anything because they can learn any skill. And if they want to, they have the best network in the world. A lot of times, just people don't want to. Anyway, goodbye.